Hello everybody and welcome to a rather soggy Imola once again for the final round of the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series Challenge Class. Event number 7 in Series 13. It's set to come to our perhaps most exciting climax of all 4 of our classes. Technically, 4 drivers could walk away with the title here tonight, although it's more likely it's one of 2, only separated by 10 points coming into tonight. At the top of the standings, Alan Hales and George Poulos just behind, looking for a title in what's surely set to be an exciting finish to the season. Myself, Ian O'Leary and Rob Miles ready to take you through the action here from Imola, one of the most feared circuits around the world, with an added bit of moisture to make things even more difficult. This broadcast, as always this season, is brought to you by Princess Cruises, the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. This broadcast is also the part of course, the 70th anniversary of the Porsche Club of America. Glad to be celebrating that with the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series 13 over the course of 2025. Well, it's been a long season, Ron, throughout 7 great rounds. We've come here to Imola now, and it's wet on the circuit. What a fantastic way to conclude the Challenge Class season.
Yeah, and as we saw only 1 week ago here from the Porsche Club of America World, albeit with the Club Class season finale 1 week ago, that was a barn burner of a race, and I have a feeling that here tonight we're in for another good one at Imola. It's a fine track. Throw rain into the picture as well, and you've got a challenging race for these drivers.
And this is the standing, currently just 10 points between Alan Hales and George Poulos. They are the favourites. If either of them finish in the top 5, then it's whoever beats the other. It's that simple. Joshua Jefferson is 3rd, and he's a little bit far behind now, 90 points away, although it is possible for him to win. He needs the other 2 ahead of him to finish outside the top 5, really. And Dave Douglas needs them to finish, well outside the top 10, I would say, and he needs to win himself, anything other than a win, and Dave Douglas is not going to be champion. Vernon Messer misses out on contention by just 10 points, although he could rocket into 3rd place, maybe even, as could Ed Trippett today. Andrew Hillman starts the day from 7th, only 10 points ahead of Ioannai, who's 10 points ahead of Britt Dadley. Robert Gallage rounds out the top 10. In the incident standings, Alan Hales knows, unfortunately, that he can't win this clean drivers standings now, even though he's got just 3 incident points. He is not going to be the overall champion. He could be the Challenge Class champion, though. Joshua Jefferson is 19 further incidents behind him. Let's have a look at some of these track facts then. The Imola circuit, the wetness and the elevation change is not going to be displayed through here, Ron, but it is a very technical circuit, as you can see here.
Yeah, you can see all the twists and turns, 19 in all around this iconic racetrack, which has had a lot of changes thrown into it throughout the years. One of the latest changes coming back in the mid-2010s with that start-finish straightaway. Actually, it was the mid-2000s when they altered that start-finish straightaway. But you think of big changes around here, you think of the addition of the Tamburello and Villeneuve chicanes. The run-through Aqua Minerale has had some changes over the years as well. It's a circuit, though, that despite the fact it is rather old in the grand scheme of things, it's a track that they had a pretty good idea when they designed it many moons ago that they had a gem on their hands. Originally designed as a street circuit, now a world-class motorsports facility that hosts Formula One every single year, along with a slew of other events. It's a fine track, and I think we are going to be in for a good one.
We certainly are. There are the track conditions. It's cooler on the circuit than it is in the air, and that's how you know it is raining. It is going to, well, other than the fact you can see it, obviously, it is a pretty heavy rain as well. That's the heaviest rain that we're going to see all day. In case you were with us last week, but not yesterday, the weather conditions have changed. Obviously, set weather conditions for both the classes this week, the Sport class and the Challenge class as well. That means that we are going to have pretty heavy rain, or moderate rain as it's called, but it looks pretty heavy to me, through qualifying and the early part of the race. It's going to stop almost as quickly as it did last week, but it is going to start again with lighter rain to the end of the race. Now, we didn't have any discussions of or indeed see the dry tyres work for anybody last week. Certainly nobody's going to be using it this week now because of the rain that comes in not long after it clears up. That's coming through the race, so it's going to be wet tyres all the way. And as we saw last week, Ron, it provides such great challenges to these drivers. The time gaps in this qualifying session are going to be really quite large because the circuit is so difficult.
Yeah, and as we're probably going to raise a lot throughout this broadcast, Imola is a driver's track. You have to be comfortable with yourself and comfortable with your race car to be able to put a good time around here. Throw rain into the forecast, and really that discrepancy is going to be amplified if there's any way to describe it one way or the other. You can see these challenging conditions just following Anthony DiVincenzo in the 420 car. He's heading his way out of the Ravazza section right now onto that start-finish straightaway. You could just see him having to crank a whole lot of steering lock just to get that car around. As much as we are sponsored by Princess Cruises, some of these cars are going to be floating around the track like boats would instead of race cars.
The opportunities for us are endless. There's Ben Whitehurst. Something moving in the background there. I think that's a pet or something. Anyway, he's making his way down towards Tamburello for the first time. There's Vernon Messer just going a little bit too late on the brakes there in towards turn 1, although it's technically called turn 2. I keep referring to it as turn 1. There's Johan Knight, just a little bit late on the brakes as well there. Ideally want an early apex there, actually, so you can get the run out of the corner, really, rather than being fast on the way in. But this is the first for many of their 3 lap times. You are limited in the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series as to how many laps you can do as we have a look at Ed Trippett. He's got not just one, but a couple of sim rigs here. And he is busy working away at this circuit on the first of 3 laps. There's Andrew Hillman. Oh, bit of a slide out of Piratella. Catches it quite nicely, though, for the man 7th place in the championship. He'll be fending off that position at 6 because he's got 2 drivers within 20 points of him. It's a little bit wide through Akko Minerale as well. There's Kevin Hamann in the in Piratella, it looks like, over the top of the hill. It is indeed back down the other side as well. Plenty of cameras for these guys. Lots of setups we can have a look at here, but, you know, all broadly the same. I've got to say that the slightly larger curved monitor seems a bit more popular these days than anything else. Everyone's got that seemingly fitted to their rig.
I gotta say, I'm a little bit jealous looking at some of these driver sim setups. I'm not sure even if I've ever showed you what my sim rig looks like. I got back in 2018, and that thing, it's more cracked than the dry rotted rubber handles for an abandoned bicycle. It is a really rough looking sim rig. And I will also say one thing, talking about not necessarily a driving sim rig. We saw the other 2 rig setup from Edward Trippett as we're following him in the number 22 car. I believe the one that he wasn't using was actually a flight sim rig. I think I saw some flight stick controls there.
Okay. I just thought it was a sim rig without the thing on it. You know what I mean? Without the actual, I don't know the technical word for what I'm trying to tell you, but I know what I mean. Anyway, David Moody, oh dear, David Moody a little bit wide in towards Ravazza, just about pulls it onto the circuit in time. Torres-Gianni, meanwhile, goes to the top. Let's see who else is going to go quickly. Antonio De Silva is probably going to go quite well. 3 drivers covered by a 10th is pretty impressive, by the way, as De Silva looks to try and join them. He's going to be 4th, head of Trippett, 1 second behind. But where are the championship contenders? Alan Hales is currently in 8th place. George Poulos at the moment is not on the board from what I can see. He did not set a time first time round. Must have gone off track. Nervy time for these championship contenders.
Yeah, and for these racers heading to the end of this season, they have to try and perform as best as they possibly can in what may potentially be the toughest qualifying session of the entirety of this season. We're going to be talking about the challenge a lot throughout this qualifying session and this race that we have coming up. With only a tick over 4 minutes to go on the clock, it is crunch time for these racers to try and extract the most amount of performance out of their race cars as they possibly can and search for grip where there really isn't any around this racetrack. You're going to see a lot of drivers taking experimental and intriguing lines heading off through some of these corners. And now whether or not those experimental lines work or don't work, we'll just have to wait and see. Only time will tell whether or not a bizarre around the outside line heading off through some of these corners is going to be good. Obviously, if anyone's seen rain racing before. You want to avoid the racing line at all costs. It's polished, it's rubbered in, and it's basically going to act like a giant slip and slide for these drivers. So trying to find any sort of way to avoid that at all costs, but you do have to have a sort of cooperative relationship with it at certain points in time. That's usually where it's going to be tough. And one thing that we raise is we see Alan Hales cross the line right now. See if that is an improvement from him. Currently running in 10th, jumps up to 4th there. That's a brilliant improvement from the driver, the 74. I was just going to raise the painted areas heading down that start finish straightaway that are usually getting used a lot in dry conditions. I think it's going to be a bit too opportunistic to run that a lot in the race coming up.
Yeah, it will be. There's a lot of painted areas you want to avoid down there, that's for sure. As we have a look at Jefferson here through the Villeneuve chicane. He's 3rd in the championship at the moment. Dave Douglas nowhere to be seen towards the front right now, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. I don't think he's actually here today, so it's going to be 3 up for the championship. As I mentioned, Douglas with a very unlikely chance of winning the title anyway. Likes of Vernon Messer and Ed Trippett might even push him outside the top 5 by the end of the season as well, which would be a shame for the Portimao race winner, Dave Douglas. Meanwhile, this is Jefferson over the top of the hill. Believe of the championship contenders, he's going to be first over the line, but he's got the most work to do, currently down in 8th place.
Yeah, and let's see if he will be able to get an improvement out of this lap. Running a little bit wide coming out of Aqua Minerale. That's not going to help out his cause one bit. That's spinning around the number 74 car of Alan Hales.
Wow, so the leader, the championship leader, has currently got the best time of the contenders, but he's spun. So I think that's only Poulos left. I think, as you said, Jefferson is probably going to have that lap wiped away, and he's gone back to pit lane. So it is just down to Poulos now, and here he is. If he could pull something out of the bag here, it could be quite something to set him on his way. Very slow through the opening part of on the way towards Ravazza here, but don't forget he's been and he's sliding on the way in as well. It's a really difficult corner to get slowed down for, so not sure whether that is his line or whether he's just taking it easy now on the way into the pit lane, but it looks a little bit on the slow side to me. Let's see as he makes his way out the final corner. It is a bit on the slow side, and he comes into pit lane, so Hales will be 5th ahead of Poulos in 7th and Jefferson in 8th. But look at the contenders for the race win. Top 8 covered by 7/10 of a second. It's one of the closest sessions we've seen all throughout these 4 races, these 4 classes in the Porsche Club of America. This is one of the closest.
Yeah, the field is vacuum sealed together, and as it's saying, the quickest driver is now Marco Souza in the 704. Just jumped up to the pole position a couple of moments ago, saying a 2-minute 5.229. That's a pretty good lap time from him. Patrizio Torcolani is now down into the pit, so that's not going to be an improvement from him. Let's see if it's an improvement from De Silva in the number 24, crossing the line a couple of moments ago, and I don't believe it will be an improvement from the driver of the number 24 machine, currently slotted in 9th at the present moment, less than 30 seconds ago in this solo qualifying session. So there's not going to be any sort of carryover time that you would see in an open session, since it's all these drivers out on the racetrack by themselves. Once we get that checkered flag, they're going to get yoinked back to pit lane, and we'll be able to get this race underway. Looking good for Souza to start from the pole, but it's also looking good for Hales to start as the highest qualifying of our championship contenders.
And being the leader already, he is certainly off to a good start. Well, we'll go through the pole lap and the starting grid in a few moments' time. But first, the drivers are heading to warm up. And while we're there, at the end of the racing in Series 13 does not mark the end of the Porsche Club of America racing here this year. Take a look at this video, which shows you what's coming up for the future.
Work their way through. Oh, there's a big moment there too. GT3 spinning into the westward chute.
That's right, the 6 Hours of Spa is coming up on the 4th of May, an Operation Motorsport benefit event. Not related to the Team Racing Series, but does have support from PCA Region and also PCA Sim Racing, who are hosting this Operation Motorsport benefit event. This year's race is on Sunday, May the 4th, on iRacing. It's one of its most famous circuits. As you just seen there, the 963 Porsche will be used alongside the GT3. For more information, visit pcasimracing.com/Opmo 6 Hours. And to sign up already, you can visit the link on your screen there as well. We'll be live from about midday on that afternoon. Looking forward to broadcasting that race because it is going to be a fun event that afternoon. As I mentioned, not related to the Team Racing Series, so you don't have to be signed up for that one to get involved. Now then, back to the Series 13 qualifying session for the finale in this challenge class. Let's go on board with Marcus Souza and see how he got this pole lap, 2:05.2 here, Ron. And we're going to watch some of these lines through here and just see where he was able to make up the time and just edge his nose in front of the rest of the field.
And maybe this is just my real-life racing experience speaking, being a member of the Sports Car Club of America and having run in the SCCA for as many years as I did. I'm looking at this lap from Marco Souza, and the immediate thought that pops into my mind is it feels like an autocross event with the amount of puddles he is having to dodge. You replace those puddles with cones, and you pretty much have a perfect autocross event. And you're just seeing him dance around this track, trying to find where that grip is, even in a straight line, flat-out having to dance around the track, figure out where the grip is, figure out where the standing water is, avoid the standing water, and trying to find that grip. Trying to find the grip around here going to be like trying to find a living T-Rex, considering the colder track conditions and the absolutely soaked racetrack. And you can see him understeering, heading off through the first parts of Aqua Minerale and just slowing down to a crawl. That section, I mean, that section literally called Mineral Water. I feel like a more fitting name would probably be Puddle Corner, considering how soaked it looked in this qualifying session earlier on. You can see him taking good liberties with the curbs, heading off through the slow chicane. That is a good spot to try and use the curbs because, I mean, let's face it, we're probably going, around 45 miles an hour at most through there. You can afford to hit the curbs heading through that section. This is a section where you don't want to hit the curbs, though. On that inside, if we see someone hit that curb, we are probably going to be seeing a round of bowling heading off into Ravazza. These final two corners to bring this lap to a conclusion. Dancing with the devil a little bit, hitting those curbs on the exit, but he has a nice little slide coming out of it, kisses a curb ever so slightly, and guns it right to the line. That is your pole lap from Marco Souza. Not a big gap to himself in P2, but it's enough time out there on that qualifying session to grab the pole.
And what that shows you, and what indeed all the pole laps from the last four classes have shown us, is that it is not a circuit or indeed a session where anybody got a fully clean lap in, but it was Marcus Souza who got the best lap in, and that's what matters. Patricio Torrigiani got the second best, and he's on the front row as well as Nick Paglia and Ed Trippett, who are on row 2. Alan Hales, the best of our championship contenders, starts from 5th ahead of Vernon Messer. 7th place has gone to George Poulos, who's alongside fellow championship contender Joshua Jefferson. Antonio Da Silva and Jean Kaplan are on row 5. Jeffrey Block and Kevin Hamann are on row 6. Ahead of Anthony DiVincenzo and Ben Whitehurst. Over 3 seconds off pole back here, by the way. Keith Markinson is 15th, better Brad Dunn with Jan Knight and then Andrew Hillman on 18th place. James Ligo and then Evan Cole round out the top 20. Jack Stevenson, Lisa Eskridge on row 11, and Robert Gallis and El Moody in the 24th position. That's all the drivers here today. All of them getting a time on the board, but not quite representative, you wouldn't say, of what they're going to experience. There in the meantime is a couple of our driver cameras as they get ready to race. Not less warming up really, and more sitting around and waiting for the race to begin. Just figuring out what the weather's going to do as well and how they're going to get through this race. It's going to be one of survival by the looks of things more than anything else.
Oh, it is going to be a huge game of survival here. Just even making it to the end of this race we have coming up is going to be a super impressive performance from these racers. Still waiting for this formation lap to get underway, and we'll be able to judge how the spray is at the present moment. Kept tabs on this during that club race 1 week ago, and I will note that the track conditions even worse for this than they were for that race 1 week ago here on Race Spot. iRacing currently marking the track as very wet, and based off some of the scenes that we're seeing right now very early on into this formation lap, I will take iRacing's word for it. This track is absolutely drenched, and with cold track conditions as well, 62 degrees Fahrenheit, which, let's face it, that is not very hot for a racetrack. It's going to result in tires on these cars that are clammy at best and cold at its worst. So in terms of challenging races, this may be right up to the tippy top. What a way to bring this season to a conclusion as my tongue got wrapped around my teeth about 15 times there. But this is going to be a brilliant race. It's going to be tough for these drivers. Very happy that I'm in the commentary booth instead behind the wheel.
I think many people watching at home will feel the same. So we're right on board with just exactly what you can, or indeed what you can't see in the pack here. And these are only at pace car speeds, don't forget. Goodness knows what's going to happen as we get up to racing speed here and decide a championship, let's not forget, in the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series Challenge class tonight. Alan Hales starts 10 points ahead of George Poulos. Joshua Jefferson 90 points behind. If Hales finishes in the top 5 and ahead of the other two, he doesn't need to worry about anything. He will be champion. If he finishes where he qualifies, with the other two finishing where they qualify, then he will be champion as well. But it's never that simple in the Porsche Club America. Let's see how they get on here at Imola as a very wet finale is set to get underway. The drivers now led by Marcus Souza, excuse me, pull up towards the line and get ready for the green flag. Here we go. The spray already kicked up in before we got the green flag, but now it waves, and now we're racing for the first time here tonight. It's Torresiani with a decent start alongside, in fact, here of Souza in towards turn number 1, and it's going to be neck and neck into Tamburello for the first time. Souza breaks later, though, and he gets the inside line and gets the position in towards turn 1. Look at how tentative everyone's going to be through the opening corners for the first time. Torresiani gets into second place. Nick Paglia is going to be third, and Ed Tribbett, then it's going to be Alan Hales. Not much in the way of incident or accident, but that's because everyone was so cautious in towards turn 1.
Well, one driver who unfortunately got struck by a falling anvil very early on is Andrew Hillman. He had a mega sideways snap heading down into Tamburello. Lost control, did not make any contact with any other cars. And I think he lightly grazed the barrier, but it was a long sideways moment for him. He was basically stuck on a slip and slide ride heading down into Tamburello. Not a good way to start the race at all if you are Andrew Hillman. But at the front of the field, these drivers looking to just dance their way around this racetrack, walking on eggshells. I don't even think it's the best way I can describe it. It's like walking on an active minefield.
Yeah, it is. It is really, really difficult on the opening of this race, but so well behaved by everybody. And fair play for getting through the opening, at least sector of this lap. Let's not say the opening lap so far just yet, because it is not quite over just yet. There are the live standings. Hales now 30 points ahead of Poulos, and then Jefferson not too far away either, actually being caught by Trippett and Messer there, who are still involved, although don't forget they are out of mathematical contention. Hales cannot lose more than 150 points to anybody today, and only Poulos and Jefferson are within 150 of him. Here comes Jefferson, meanwhile, on Poulos, the two contenders side by side with each other on the way towards Ravazza. There goes Jefferson right on the outside and through into 7th place, as meanwhile Hales makes a place. Ed Tribbett goes wide down in towards Ravazza, and he's still a bit wide there. Here on the way exit comes Tribbett coming back again. Hales going backwards. Now Messer's going to come through. Maybe Jefferson as well. Look at this. He's getting freight trained here, the championship leader. Alan Hales in trouble as he pulls to the right-hand side of the road. He needs to be careful here. With Jules Poulos coming through as well. He could be shuffled back very quickly if he's not too careful now. Side by side through turn 1. Poulos can't see anything. In towards the corner. Jefferson's going to go down the inside. He's in the top 5 at the start of lap 2.
And that was an absolutely terrifying perspective that George Poulos had in all of that. Heading down into Tamburello, he could see absolutely nothing. Picking his way through the spray, you couldn't even see the rain light on the back of these race cars. That was a sketchy moment for all of those racers involved in that battle. I think they should be counting their lucky stars. The fact they got away with it rather scot-free as these drivers continue to go side by side throughout this field. It brings up that little back and forth that goes on with these wet weather races, as El Moody had a moment in the number 4 car that's heading his way down into Ravazza, overshot it a little bit, ends up in the gravel, maybe bringing a bit of dirt and dust and all that stuff out onto the circuit. But the point I was going to raise, talking about that mental game of seesawing that goes on for these drivers between thinking, okay, it's a first lap of the race, the field's packed in, we have an hour-long race in front of us, I should probably take it easy, and also thinking, yeah, it's an hour-long race, I should probably make up some moves now while the field is still packed in together. You also have to remember, it's a rain race. These conditions are incredibly tricky for these drivers and for these race cars, so as much as you may want to be aggressive right towards the start of this race, that aggression, it may result in a couple of gain spots, and it could also result in your car whacking itself into the barrier.
Oh, Div on the brakes here. Paglia, well, not quite going off the rope, but you can just see how close they are to the limit here. Hale's been struggling with this section, and he's just turned it in time. That was pretty close. There is Hales, there is Poulos, the two championship contenders. Don't forget, if they're outside the top 5, these two, Poulos would win if he was ahead, and Hales would win if he was ahead. So it's almost a winner-takes-all situation here for these two, because they're so close coming in, and Poulos would win on countback if they were tied. And if these two positions reverse, they would be tied on points. Here we go in towards Tamburello again. Hales will defend that position away, but he brakes quite late for the opening chicane. He pulls it up in time, though. It's going to be a very long hour for him if he's going to be soaking up pressure like this all day long.
Yeah, it is going to be a nerve-wracking hour as it stands for really both of these racers as they head their way off into the Villeneuve chicane. For Hales, he's going to try and hold on. For Poulos, he's going to see that opportunity of winning a championship right in front of him, and he is going to try and seize it. That's another off-track moment for El Moody, hitting that tire barrier. I've made this joke before on broadcast, and I'll say it again. The tire barriers here on iRacing made out of the matter of white dwarf stars. And you can see that put on full display a couple of moments ago as El Moody hit that wall in the number 4 car and pretty much stopped on a dime.
Not ideal. And it's not going to be the last car we see in the barriers at the end of the day. We do still have everybody running, though. Joshua Jepson got off to a pretty good start here, and he's now catching the leaders. Oh, off! Trippett goes for a big spin, and they're all going to gain positions here. So Jefferson gets another 20 points. Hales and Poulos will get another 10. The championship situation changes. That was a pretty dangerous rejoin for Trippett as well, to be honest. John Kaplan will gain a place. Jeffrey Block will get into the top 10 as well. But that was pretty close to disaster, not only in the spin itself, but the rejoin as well.
And you know what that incident really brings into my mind, Ewan? It brings up the fact that for these championship contenders battling hard to try and win it all at the end of this season 13, it may not be entirely in their hands. A mistake from someone right in front of them resulting in a bad rejoin could see one of these championship contenders get taken out of it as a result of no fault of their own. Just saw that get put on full display a couple of moments ago, but Hales running wide coming out of Ravazza. This is a shot that Poulos is going to take.
Oh my goodness, Hales goes wide through the second part of Ravazza for the second time in just 3 laps, and all of a sudden he's out of championship winning position. Poulos would take the title on countback right now. They've both won 1 race this season. Poulos was 2 weeks ago at the Hungaroring, but he's got 1 second place as well. So assuming that it is on best place or best placings, if you like, first down through second, third, etc., then it is going to be Poulos who takes the victory. And we'll check on the rules again, but I believe that would be the case. And right now, to be honest, he's got bigger things to worry about, Alan Hales. He seems to be struggling in the early moments of this race.
Yeah, as much as the number 74 car seemed to be rather planted in that qualifying session early on, there's something about this track that is not meshing well with that car. As we see, here was a moment for Trippett heading his way off into the Aqua Minerale section. You can see he just lost it. I think he may have hit either the painted line or the curb on corner entry and just looped it around in the blink of an eye. You can see that rather sketchy rejoin. That could have ended in tears for the driver of the 22 car, as I think there may have been a moment involving Paglia. Yes, there has been.
Yeah, that's down to 5th place for Nick Paglia. And so Jefferson gains another place. Now he's only 30 points off the title himself. He would need to win in this situation, and I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, Jefferson does need to be on the podium under any circumstances to take the title. He can't be any lower. Here's what happened to Paglia. Oh, he was so close to hitting Torrigiani there, but it's the classic mistake through Aqua Minerale there for him.
Yeah, I think Aqua Minerale is maybe going to be the section of this racetrack that catches at the most amount of drivers. I kind of joked in that small little lap guide that we did with the other pole lap from your pole man who's still leading this race of Marco Souza. I said that Aqua Minerale should really be renamed to Puddle for this race because that's basically what it is. It's a puddle, it's a pond, it's a lake, it's a koi pond, whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what it is heading off through that section. There's more standing water than there is asphalt through that section. So for these racers, again, I'm at least going to make this joke as many times as I can, as much as this series is sponsored by Princess Cruises. These drivers don't want their car to drive like a cruise liner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way these cars are turning on occasion, but drivers will certainly be feeling like it. There's Souza just defending slightly in towards Toza. The hairpin, left-handed, that sends you uphill then towards Piratella, and that's a good run from Targiani. Decent run anyway, as they have Jefferson bearing down on them. Suddenly, you can see the urgency for Targiani. He's just has a peek down the inside. Just under 10 minutes gone. 1.5 seconds, and it just ticks up again as Jefferson makes a mistake over the top of the hill. He's made a pretty big mistake, actually. He'll be under pressure from Messer all over again. This race is going to be about mistakes and how you bounce back from them as well. So far, the only drivers inside the top 5, though, to have retained their positions and indeed not made any mistakes are Souza and Tarziani, who still run 1 and 2.
And I wonder if we will see a flare-up of that battle as we take a look at some of the drivers a little bit farther in the back of the field. Alan Hales has not had a good start in the number 74 machine. Finds himself in P7 at the present moment and just had this moment heading off through the chicane. It's an easy mistake to make. Not the first time we've seen it, but that's a big one for Hales.
It's huge, and look at that, Kaplan's going through on the inside line as well. Alan Hales is seeing this season go up in smoke towards the end here. He had his worst result of the season so far at the Hungaroring, the first time he finished outside the top 5. Well, from here, he's going to do a very good job to finish inside the top 5 once again now. 8th place for him. Kaplan's just in front, and now there's a queue behind him. Antonio De Silva is next in line. Ed Trippett's recovering. He's in 10th place. Kevin Hammond's there as well as Jeffrey Block as well, who's actually been losing a couple of places in the last few moments, but this is turning bad for Alan Hales, who needs to suddenly find something from somewhere.
Yeah, Alan Hales is going to have to heat it up in the number 74 car if he wants to even have a hope of winning the championship at the end of all this. It's now 10 points between himself and George Paulus. And in terms of their spots out there on the racetrack, it is not only one car between those two in the form of John Kaplan. You also got a rather lengthy time gap between the two of them. That's what, about 8 seconds between George Paulus and Alan Hales. That's not good for Hales in that number 74 car. He's going to have to turn up the wick if he wants to try and challenge Paulus and his current stranglehold on that championship lead. Want to raise one thing, though. Second tries a charm with that pronunciation. Talking about this race and the difficulties that some of these drivers have raised, I said that the track temperatures were about 60 degrees Fahrenheit before we grabbed the green. That's surprisingly, considering we've got a whole bunch of race cars out there on the track running around this circuit as fast as they possibly can. Track temperatures are actually shooting down now to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so that is getting rather chilly for these cars. So as much as the track conditions have dried out in terms of the rain out there, the temperatures have actually cooled off.
It may help the tyres because in this drying phase, the wets might well just get a little bit overheated, but I can't see that being a huge problem today anyway. When you consider the fact that it is going to rain again later on, the tyres shouldn't get out of hand too much, you wouldn't say. Yeah. This, though, is all being created effectively by Alan Hales. Now, John Kaplan is just in front of him right now. You could argue is at the front of the train, but this is not ideal for a championship contender. And they're all looking down the inside of each other here as well. Ed Trippett had a peek at De Silva there, but no, not a chance that time round. Kevin Hammond just in the background as well. He's not going to go anywhere either. As they come out of the final corner, it is all one line for the moment. This is busy stuff, and to be honest, this is some of the closest racing we've seen for any of the classes. The Challenge Class drivers have been doing a fantastic job so far, not only in the qualifying session that we saw earlier, which is one of the closest we've seen in these 2 weeks, but also in the racing as well. It is not easy to race this close.
these drivers have been vacuum sealed together ever since the drop of the green flag. There hasn't been many things separating these racers, and even when they have some sort of mistake, they find themselves involved in a bigger battle than they were before. It always ramps up, and even at the front of the field, it is starting to ramp up. I was going to raise how a couple of laps ago, the gap between Souza and Torrigiani was actually increasing a little bit, was teetering above 1 full second. I believe it was around 1.2 at its biggest. Now that we're back down to a half between these front two at the north end of the field, they're running in a pack all by themselves as Joshua Jepson in the number 73 car is a little bit farther back. You can just barely see him in that camera shot heading down into the chicane. So it's looking like a 2-horse race between Souza and the number 3 of Torrigiani.
Yeah, I'm not counting out Jefferson just yet, but it is taking him a while to catch up as well. Last time around, these two were in the 58s, mid-58s, and it actually didn't count for Jefferson. He must have taken an off-track. That's his second in the clean driver standings, but even with Hale's difficulties today, it doesn't look like he's going to overtake him in those standings. Hales would have to get 19 incidents. I think that's impossible as far as this race goes. So over the line they go. Souza and Torrigiani. They are still 1 and 2 in this race out front right now, and doing pretty well as well. Torrigiani has not been on the podium yet this season. He's only been in the top 5 once at Portimao. And he has made some of these races this season quite hard work for himself. He's been very good at recovering, though, from these situations. Souza has also only been in the top 5 once. Both of those, on those occasions for both of those two, it was in 5th place. They've never been on the podium. They're fighting it out right now for a race win, and what a feeling that must be for these two out front with just 15 minutes gone.
And what a way it would be to bring the season to a close for these drivers. Talk about hitting that off season with a good amount of pep in your step. It's like, hey, may not have gotten the result that I probably wanted in the championship, but when it comes to that final race of the season, I grabbed the checkered flag, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Don't want to say that too much, though, because knowing my luck, though, an asteroid is going to come down on both of those drivers and take them out of contention. So as we switch away and look at a massive Hornets nest of race cars a little bit farther in the back, as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, God knows how many cars running in a line heading down into Toza right now. That is currently being led by the number 9 machine of John Kaplan. He's got Alan Hayes right behind him, Antonio Da Silva running a P9, Ed Trippett riding at your top 10, and he's still got more cars continuing on in tow. That is 6 cars covered by practically nothing. In dry conditions, this would be a bit more of a common sight, but in the rain, the gap that they have between those racers, you are in the midst of the worst when it comes to the spray.
This is difficult stuff early on in this race, but a good start to the challenge class here in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series once again. Because with just 15 minutes gone, we'd like to remind you, of course, that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Now then, in that moment there, Vernon Messer just lost a place to Nick Paglias, so that's changed for 4. And Joshua Jefferson, while he does take 1 step forward to the 2 leaders, he tends to take 2 steps back pretty soon afterwards. And right now he's stuck in 3rd place. Look at the championship situation. Top 3 covered by 30 points, with Jefferson needing those points up ahead of him. He'd get another 20 per second, so you do the maths. He needs to win this race in the current situation for Poulos and Hales. And right now, he keeps getting a little bit further away from that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, does he have the pace to try and contend for the race win at the end of all this? Looking at some of the lap times that Jefferson has set thus far, just looking through the past couple of laps, some of them were actually invalidated, but before then he had actually set his fastest lap of the race at a 1:48.825, and then the time before, well, the time after that was in the 2 minutes, 2-minute 0.5 to be a bit more precise. So that sort of inconsistency is really going to come back to bite him compared to some of the drivers running a little bit in front of him. Take Torgiani, for instance, looking through his past 3 laps, 158.5, 158.9, 159.6. So as much as he has been teetering off pace-wise, that sort of consistency is something that you can see in Souza as well, to 158.6, 159.2, and a 159.4. That sort of consistency can really help you in conditions like this. As much as the track may be evolving, as much as a lot of these drivers find themselves in pressure cooker situations, being consistent, just always setting the lap times that you need to get is really important. That's a spin for De Silva hang through the chicane.
That is pressure off Alan Hales, and be careful, rejoining. Oh no! Reversing there right in front of the racing line. Not ideal from Antonio De Silva. You can understand why he wants to get back going as quickly as possible, and it's a blind corner to be reversing away from as well. Not easy, but either way, that was not ideal. Thankfully, he was avoided by everybody. It's a classic spin over the chicane. We saw this countless times before in the wet weather conditions, and it has started to rain again now. So only light rain from now to the finish, but it will remain like this. Into the pit lane, meanwhile, comes Anthony Di Vincenzo for a black flag.
And that is going to be a kick in the shins if ever you see it for the 420 car. Currently finds himself in 14th at the moment, going to rapidly drop back as a result of that penalty. As here's a moment for De Silva. He's now classed in P16, was running solidly inside the top 10, but for that moment, looping it around, turning that chicane into a hairpin, that is not the right strategy, and as a result, he had to be stopped for quite a long time and having to do a rather sketchy rejoin in the process to avoid losing even more time. That is not going to be a good moment for him. But as we see the rain start to come back to this track, it's as he said, Ewan, it is very light rain that is going to be sprinkling this track between now and the end of it all. So it's not going to be making this track like a complete slip and slide, but at the same time, I am wondering whether or not that light rain is going to slowly but surely overtake the amount of drying that these cars are putting out there on the track. Are we going to see this track get even more wet, or are we probably just going to see it plateau in terms of iRacing marking the track as the conditions that we currently have?
It's a good question, actually. It's an interesting balance between the drivers that are out there, the cars that are out there, and also the added wetness that's coming on, which is going faster. If we had a massive grid, if we filled the pit boxes here at Imola of about 40, then we might have our answer, but a bit more difficult with 24. Here's Licia Eskridge, too late on the brakes for Ravazza. To be honest with you, that's what I thought the others have been doing every single time on the way down there, but I just wonder why there were gravel marks down at that corner. That's exactly why, unfortunately, for Licia Eskridge. Currently down in the 20th position. Not necessarily as a result of that, but that's certainly part of it. Kevin Hamann has just gone off through the very same corner as well, by the way, and that's why Brad Dunn has just worked his way into the top 10 for the first time. So another driver exits the top 10, another driver enters it, and this is one of those drivers who's really storming through the top 10 right now. Ed Trippett made that mistake earlier on, dropped outside the top 10, he's now back in it, and he's now working his way through it as well.
Oh, that's an off-track moment for John Kaplan, heading off through that first chicane. He's going to lose it in the 9 car, drop down to P9, so that's 2 positions lost for him. That could have been so much worse, though. I wonder, even if the curbs had anything to do with that. The curbs heading through the chicanes around here, along with the entirety of the track, they are about as unforgiving as you could possibly get. Not only the red and white curbs are rather unforgiving, you also got the anti-cut sausage curbs on the inside, which I remember doing a GT3 broadcast here about 2 years ago around Imola, and I saw a driver in the old McLaren, the old 2012 McLaren, before it got replaced with the 720S, the MP4-12C GT3 car, tumble heading through the chicane that we're going to see some of these drivers go off through in a couple of moments' time. They barrel rolled on the exit of that just because they hit the curb in a rather sour way. The curbs around here, incredibly unforgiving.
What a great car that was, by the way. There's Trippett just getting a little bit sideways on the way in towards Zacco Minerale that time, but he's up to 8th now. And indeed, Brad Dunn, as soon as he got into the top 10, has actually fallen out of it. He's made a small mistake. That's Kevin Hamann back into the top 10 again. So Hales and Poulos pull level in terms of points. They are absolutely dead level. The Porsche Club America sorts the standings by the iRacing rules for tiebreakers as James Lego goes around as he hits the wall on the inside at Piratella and drops down the position. Meanwhile, it is Marcus Souza versus Patrizio Torrigiani, and Jefferson and Paglio not too far away either. It is still 1 and 2 as they have been for the entire race. No mistakes so far from either Souza or Torrigiani.
As we continue to see this race develop, these drivers trying to manage this racetrack as we're 7, nearly 6 minutes away from the halfway mark of this race. Well, give another track condition update. iRacing still marking it as moderately wet. Relative humidity currently at 93%. of these drivers basically driving through a bowl of soup. But the track temperatures are actually improving now to 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is your weather update here with still over half the race left to go.
Well, that's quite wide from Souza. I say he's not made a mistake so far, but that could be one of them. Torrigiani's almost on the inside here as they go towards Ravalta. This is going to be high-stakes stuff through the fast right-hander. They've got to be careful. And Torrigiani just tucks back into line. Souza will cut back on the inside and just get in his way. He covers for his own error there through the Variante Alta very well, did Marcus Souza. And Torrigiani is just held back for now, but for how long? He's got a very good run out of Ravalta again here. And now the painted stuff on the inside line, it doesn't seem to bother him here as he goes for the inside line. It's going to be the shorter run as well. So he is going to pull almost dead alongside as they go along the start finish line across the actual line itself. There's cars going off in front of them here. It could be all on in towards Tamburello. Torrigiani on the outside line. Souza forced to brake late on the inside. Now, is his exit compromised, or are they all just going to be forced into line because of the wetness of the curves? It looks like it's the latter, and suddenly traffic is on them, and Souza is under pressure.
And now the real question that I have, seeing these drivers catch up to this lap traffic, how badly is it going to affect it? That lap car going off the track. Look at Souza having to run off into the painted stuff coming out of the Villeneuve chicane to try and get that move done on the lap car. That right there is a 4 car going off, trying to find a sort of way to let those leaders go by. In the midst of all of that, Joshua Jepson has caught up to these racers. It is now a 3-car battle for the win and the lead in this race. Souza, Torrigiani, and Jepson covered by practically nothing at the moment, about 1.2 seconds between the racers in the podium spots. And I wonder now that the lap traffic is out of the picture, who's going to be the first to bite? My money would probably be on Jepson. He finds himself in a good spot, and as you said earlier on, Yoon, it's basically a must-win situation for him in the championship. He sees the opportunity. I don't think he'll have much to lose. As much as P3 in the championship does sound pretty good, a championship sounds even better. So I think that 73 cars may be going to be the one risking it. Right as I say that, though, he runs wide coming out of the chicane.
Now he's in a must-podium situation, but with Poulos and Hales in the positions they are, he does need to win from here as Souza goes on the defensive again here. How long can these two take this on before one of them makes a mistake? Well, they just about pull it up in time for Ravalta, but this race all of a sudden as we approach off distance has just turned up a notch. There's a little bit wide from Torrigiani, and his run onto the front straight isn't quite going to be good enough at this time around. Onto the front straight, he's going to get back into the slipstream again, but it is even more difficult to overtake around Imola, it seems, when it is raining like this, and that's what Torrigiani is experiencing at the moment. In towards Tamburello again, and Souza will keep the lead. 4 drivers covered by 3 seconds at the front of this race, nearly half an hour in. What a treat we're getting in the challenge class to end the season, and it is Jefferson who's looking menacing up in behind. The importance of this cannot be overstated as they weave on the way towards Villeneuve as well. This is extremely close, and a good defensive drive so far from Souza. A good attacking drive as well from Torrigiani, putting the pressure on.
And applying pressure to your competitors can be a make or break deal in a race like this, around a track like this with conditions like this. Very easy to make a mistake. So if you apply pressure to your competitors as best as possible and as expertly crafted as you possibly can, force them into a mistake, and you could come out of all of it smelling like a rose. Souza maybe feeling a little bit of pressure at the present moment, seeing that 704 car not nearly be as quick as he was in the the earlier stages of this race, actually looking through some of the lap times that he sent, hasn't improved on his lap 6. And as of recent, he's been solidly in the 2 minutes. I wonder if this track is just generally slowing down as we see a moment a little bit farther in the back.
This is the bottom of your screen, Antonio De Silva trying to get past Ben Whitehurst at the bottom of your screen. The battle at the top is for first overall as they work their way down the hill. Targiani again close, but the wet line on the way towards that corner means that you're sort of naturally defending anyway. Targiani gets right up the back of him here, and Jefferson gets close as well. A look up the inside, in fact, from Targiani. Is he starting to wonder, with Jefferson right behind, is he starting to wonder where this goes from here? He pulls to the right here immediately, does Targiani. He's not letting Jefferson through, is he? Well, there are all sorts of weaving around going on here, and he can't really see very much. That might be why they're all weaving around. Jefferson just looking for a clear view on the way towards Tamburello once again. On the brakes, spot your braking point. Thankfully, that's not in the spray on the right-hand side. And now he can see very clearly the two up in front of him. But how did he get past Targiani? He's been struggling for half an hour.
I feel like to get the move done, there may have to be a bit of aggression, breaking at that chrome horn, and maybe also hoping for a mistake from either the drivers in front is probably going to be the name of the game for Jepson. I will say, if you are Joshua Jepson, you may want to force that issue a little bit, because look right behind. That's a number 19 of Nick Paglia. He's reeled these drivers in big time over the past few moments. I was going to say a matter of about a third of a lap ago that we may have to keep an eye on the driver of the number 19 car. He was rapidly encroaching upon this battle and is now very much so in it. It's 4 cars at the front of the field, covered by 2.5 seconds. Paglia clearly getting confident in the way his race car is driving, as these track conditions have not only stagnated, they are starting to get a little bit worse. Seeing mistakes from Souza, he just ran wide, heading through Aqua Minerale a couple of moments ago. These drivers are starting to struggle badly.
It's just a race of really toing and froing at the moment. At one stage, the gap comes down to less than 2 seconds, covering a top 4, and now it's well over 2.5. But through that chicane, and Targiani's all of a sudden 6 tenths behind, and it will continue to change and change again. Well, once again, of course, we will remind you with half an hour of this race to go that we've got Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 enabling ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Now then, here comes Targiani. Best chance for the leaders out for some time in towards Tamburello, but again Souza's on the inside and stays ahead. He wallops the curb there, and you'd think that would give Targiani the chance on the exit, but not again. Marcus Souza keeps the lead.
And that is going to be a good moment for Souza. As much as he started from the pole and was a little bit more confident towards the earlier stages, I think as this track has continued to change and as this race has continued to develop, Souza has not been as comfortable as he once was. Look at that, banging doors, heading down into Toza. Targiani in that 3 car. He's seizing the opportunity. He wants to get this move done. He's seeing the likes of Joshua Jepson and Paglia right behind, and he's starting to see Souza in front as not a competitor, more so a rolling roadblock. This may get physical between the 3 and the 704. I have a pretty strong feeling about that.
I think there's very little other ways to pass, really. So he's going to have to do something here, Targiani. They're just patching Keith Marcuson, by the way, who has just gone off here. I think this is him in towards Aqua Minerale. It is indeed. That's why he's about to be lapped. He's gone for a quick spin through Aqua Minerale. And, well, we haven't seen too much of that so far today, which has been a good thing, but now we're starting to get much more lap traffic. That was Souza pulling out the way there to get through, and Targiani's going to be alongside again here. Souza has kept the inside line so well, though, that surely this is going to be same story. Targiani's on the outside, but breaks a bit earlier. Now, can he force Souza a bit wide to stop down the inside the final corner? No, by the looks of things. And Souza again keeps the lead. This is an astonishing defense so far, but how long can this go on for?
That's a real question I got going on in my head. Second verse, same as the first in the case of Marco Souza, holding off the challenge from Torgiani. He, however, is running a rather dangerous game. As much as he is withstanding these challenges, in an ideal world, the driver of the 704 car wouldn't even have to worry about those challenges in the first place. He really needs to put his nose to the grindstone and try and build up that gap, because he's feeling the pressure, he's feeling the burn from Torgiani. And if Souza can put Torgiani in a spot where he burns up his stuff and really exhausts himself running in P2, trying to get a move done for the race lead, you may not have to worry about him between now and the end of this race, because the likes of Joshua Jepsen and Nick Paglia, they're going to be looking, they're going to be like sharks smelling blood in the water, and they will maybe trying to get a move done on the 3 if they sense a little bit of weakness. There's a moment from Anthony DiVincenzo that is heading off into this corner, whose corner number is escaping me, but that's a big spin for Souza.
Wow, the lead changes as Marcus Souza makes his first mistake of the afternoon, and it's a Piratella, and it's highly costly as well. He drops from first to fourth in one fell swoop. Another Patrizio Torrigiani now leads the race here at Imola. What a moment! Marcus Souza was hoping to avoid a mistake throughout the day, and he had been doing so well at that as well. But finally it's come, and it's come here at the top of the hill. Have a look at this. Just too fast on entry, and as soon as he turned in for that, he knew that car was going around.
And that was the reverse commentator's jinx, I feel. I was saying a matter of a couple of moments before then that what Souza had to do was maybe try and withstand the pressure from Torgiani and let Torgiani burn up his stuff, make his own mistake, and then drop down the running order. Souza did to himself what I thought he was going to try and do to Torgiani. That's a heartbreaking mistake for the driver of the 704 car. And look what it's done to the championship. Jepsen now up to second. He's only one move away from taking the race lead, and in the process of that, he would be able to get involved in this championship battle big time. Hales and Paulus tied on 1,670 points at the present moment. The tiebreaker, I believe, would go down actually to top 5 finishing position based off the other iRacing tiebreaker system. But Jepsen, if you can get that move done, we won't have to worry about that tiebreaker talk.
Yeah, so a correction to what I was saying earlier on, because I was talking about, I thought it went to second place is second. It doesn't. It goes to top 5. And Hales would still have that. He's had 5 top 5s. He came in the first 5 races, actually, as well. Poulos has only had 4, so he'd need another place, Poulos. Hales currently is winning this championship. However, if Jefferson gets in front now, then he'll be leading the championship. But just have a look at that. A long season behind them, and the top 3 are covered by 10 points. When you consider it's 10 points per position outside the top 5, you start to understand just how close this championship is between 3 great drivers.
And one thing to raise, talking about that championship battle in reference to Poulos and Hales, they don't really find themselves in a position where they can make up spots. Really, of the 2, the worst driver, the worst for the wear, has to be Alan Hales, the number 74 car. The closest car to him would be Paulus, but that's about 14 seconds between those 2 racers. And from Paulus up to Vernon Messer, that is a huge gap. So not going to see any sort of positions gained for those drivers. And for Alan Hales, if he trips up a little bit, he's going to lose out on P7 to Ed Trippett. And if he has some sort of major moment, he may drop down even more. So I don't have a good feeling about Hales in all of this, as you can see these drivers fanning their way off into Ravazza. Holy cow.
I thought Torrigiani wasn't making that, but he did. I shouldn't doubt him. That was really late on the brakes for him, but he's got it stopped in time. What a bit of defensive driving. This is going to have to be for Patrizio Torrigiani to take his first win of the season. That's what it would be. Joshua Jefferson, meanwhile, hasn't won since opening day at Daytona. He's had a pretty difficult mid part of the season, actually. He went 3 races without a top 5 and 3 races with just the 1 top 10. Really difficult mid part of the season has made this race ultra important for him. It's just up in front of them. Well, I think that's Robert Gallez, who's gone off probably the best way to get out of the way if you're a lap car there. And so I think Jack Stevenson has made a place as a result. This is what happened to Gallez in towards turn 1. Did he have help maybe in towards the corner? We'll find out. The answer is yes. It wasn't well-behaved lap driving. It was Jeffrey Block, I'm afraid, hitting him into the wall.
And that was an unfortunate moment for that racer heading down into the Tamburello section. Not the first driver to get caught out by a moment. Heading off through there was going to raise the incident we saw right at the very start of the race. Some drivers hitting the paint. Heading off through that section gets them a little bit squirrely as they hit the brakes. The track conditions not very good at the present moment. You can see running wide there for Torgiani. That's not going to help out his cause one bit. Jepsen going to be within striking distance, still about 4.5 tenths of a second between the drivers in P1 and P2 at the present moment. iRacing now marking the track still as moderately wet, but it seems a little bit wetter than it was at one point ago, as still close to the front.
That's Stevenson, who just spun in front of them, but thankfully gets out of the way in time for Jefferson to get a good run actually out of the Variante Alta here. This is where Torziani was so strong when he was putting the pressure on Souza, so surely he's got to put the other hat on now, and he's got to start defending. He does make a bit of a late move maybe, as he's looking in the mirrors. He just wanted to defend towards Ravalta, and he got the inside line just in time there. 22 minutes to go, and still a pit stop yet to come. Who's going to take it first? Neither of them this time round. In fact, there's a lap car, that's James Lego, I think, who's just gone in just up in front of them. So when are they going to take their pit stop, I guess, is one of the questions, but also how are they going to sort out this battle between the two of them, Tarziani and Jefferson, because this is for the championship. Jefferson needs to win from here, and it's a great point you made a couple of moments ago. Look at Poulos and Hales. Neither of them are anywhere near being able to do anything about this.
Yeah, for Hales and Poulos, what they need to do at the moment is keep their fingers crossed that a driver a little bit farther up the road gets struck by a falling anvil. That's really the only scenario in which those two drivers are going to gain even more spots from what they already have. They're going to need to throw a big swing at it and, frankly, hope for a little bit of luck in the final third of this final race of this 7-round championship. A championship which is all coming down to this. It's one move, one driver in the number 3 car that really can decide it all. Patrizio Torgiani in that number 3 machine is your race leader. However, he's got the number 73 of Jepsen right behind. And if you are Joshua Jepsen, I wonder what the strategy is going to be. Do you go for the move out there on the racetrack, risk a little bit of an off-track incident, and have your championship hopes come to an end right then and there? Or are you going to maybe try and do it through the pit stops? He may try and go for it on the racetrack. Here we go, side by side.
This doesn't happen in towards the chicane very often here, and Jefferson's got to be careful. Oh, he spun him! He spun Torrigiani! He just turned underneath him too quickly there, and Joshua Jefferson's in the lead suddenly. But at what cost here? Joshua Jefferson has hit Patrizio Torrigiani. Is that going to be deciding for this championship one way or the other? Jefferson currently leads in the points, but will he be penalised for that up and towards the Variante Alta?
You took the words right out of my mouth there, and I was going to say that even though I said a few moments before that incident that the championship and the fate of this championship was in the hands of the 3 car of Torgiani, it's now in the hands of race control. If they slop Joshua Jepsen with a penalty, that is going to be music to the ears of Alan Hales and George Poulos. That may have been the deciding factor at the end of it all. Jepsen now has a 1.5 second, 1.2 second gap to himself, and Paglia, of course, it being a rain race, those gaps going to fluctuate quite a lot as they're also catching up to the back of Lisa. I can see in the Powerpuff Girls car right in front there. You can see the number 75 car right in front of these drivers. That's Lisa Eskridge running in 17th at the present moment. The last car still on the lead lap, but that will probably change here in a couple of seconds time. Jepsen, though, if you get to it with a penalty, that is going to be huge. Perfect time for me to mention maybe not going for it out there on the racetrack at the risk of having some sort of incident. That aged like milk in the Nevada sun in about 15 seconds. That may be a new record for me.
Now, for now, he is the new championship leader, but we'll have a look at the replay. The race control will as well, and they will decide whether he will receive a black flag before the end of this race or not. Because as you say, the championship could now be in the hands, arguably, of race control. You could say that Jefferson really should have made that pass without having made any contact there and without getting into any trouble, and he would have alleviated a lot of those concerns. But the question is going to be, did Tarziani come across on him in towards the chicane, or did Jefferson turn across Tarziani? Let's have a little bit of a look, shall we? This is where it started. Tarziani makes a mistake himself, and Jefferson makes good use of the curb there, considering it's so wet. Now, where is the movement here? Is it from Jefferson across on Targiani or the other way round?
Ooh.
From my angles there, it looks to me like Jefferson's the one who comes across.
Yeah, it looked like Jefferson was maybe moving over to the right through the braking zone. He's decided to come into the pits, and I believe this is a scheduled stop. This is not some sort of penalty. Nothing has been levied by race control. Actually, no, there has been. Just now, Jepson picking up a black flag, a drive-through penalty for Joshua Jepson for that incident. So this is not a scheduled pit stop from the driver of the 73 car. This is a penalty. That is huge.
Wow. Have we just seen one of the championship contenders knocked out of this series fight? Joshua Jefferson is now 12 seconds off of the lead after making contact with Patrizio Targiani in towards the Variante Alta. He was briefly the championship leader. Now he's down to third and he's off straight away. He's off down at the turn one there. He's surely rattled by the penalty and everything that's gone before it. He's arguably been the fastest driver this season, but unfortunately the consistency just hasn't been there for him. With his rivals in pit lane, the championship standings are going to go absolutely mental, so don't worry about those for a moment. But Joshua Jefferson is seeing this title slip away from him here.
Yeah, that off-track moment heading down into the Tamburello chicane just about seals it. We have to wonder about this race as well. There is an incident point limit for these drivers. 25x is a limit. Once you hit that, that's not something issued by race control. That's something issued by iRacing. Once you hit that limit, you're going to get disqualified too. You will take no further part in this season finale. And in challenging conditions like this, we may have to potentially talk about those incident points catching at some of these drivers. But as we saw Alan Hales come out of pit lane, there may have been a moment from George Paulus leaving this racetrack, but not through the form of a pit lane entry. It may have been an off-track moment through the Villeneuve chicane.
This is live pictures for Poulos. He's just out his pit lane, and he is 7th. As I mentioned, the live standings are going to go absolutely mental for the next few moments. So don't worry about the gap between Poulos and Hales. If the pit stops have all worked out how they should do, then it should still be even between the two, but we will check when they have all completed their pit stops, of course, in a few moments' time. We're still waiting for a lot of them, though, to make their pit lane stop. There is the gap, just over 10 seconds. Unfortunately for Poulos, the gap in terms of positions was none, pretty much. So 15 minutes to go, and the final pit stops of the season are now underway. Jefferson comes in for the second lap in a row to make his. Behind Sousa and Targiani, who are surely going to fight for the race win here. Maybe with Nick Paglia, actually, who made his pit stop one lap earlier. That could have been a masterstroke from him if he gets out in front of them here. And Targiani is going to be out first there. Where's Paglia? He is going to be in the lead. Nick Paglia is going to lead here, ahead of Targiani, then Sousa, then Messer, who is going to be ahead of Jefferson, who's going to be at least 5th here. Ed Trippett is going to drop behind Poulos, so Poulos is going to be into 6th place. But where is Hales going to be? Surely these guys in front of him have got to still stop yet, otherwise he's going to be in big trouble here, Alan Hales. Here's Poulos out of the final corner. Hales now is coming through the final turns as well. There'll be slight concern here. I think some of these guys in front of him have stopped here. And suddenly, George Poulos moves into 6th place. Suddenly, he moves into championship position. This is looking very good for him indeed here. De Silva's still yet to come in, and Hamani is as well. So is Brad Dunn. Here at the pit lane comes Alan Ed Trippett, though. Where is he in relation to Hales? You can see it in the bottom right of your screen here. And Ed Trippett is in front of Alan Hales. This is bad news. Bad news for Alan Hales. It looks like George Poulos could be back into position, because we're going to have a few stop in front of Hales, but not enough. And Alan Hales needs to gain a position somewhere now.
This has been a disastrous pit cycle for the driver of the number 74 car. Hales has had to deal with a hailstorm of a situation ever since the drop of the green flag. It's been one moment after another, after another, after another, whether it be dropping down the running order based off a lack of speed in the early stages, whether it be this now being on the back foot, and the final stint of this season, you need to make up one spot, but that is easier said than done in conditions like this. Alan Alan Hales. He's got one car in front of him, but that's a lap down car. This is the fight for position, and you can see Ed Trippett running in 10th at the present moment, about a 2-second gap between himself and Hales. We mentioned this earlier on in reference to that championship discussion. How Paulus and Hales didn't really find themselves in a situation where they could make up some spots. They now find themselves in a spot where they can make up some moves, and they can also lose out on some spots as well. This is going to be another championship fight that is probably not going to be in these drivers' hands. They need to maybe hope for a little bit of good luck to befall themselves, bad luck to befall their competitors, and just keep their fingers crossed so they can make up 1 or 2 spots, because at the end of this absolutely thrilling race, and at the end of this season, that may make all the difference.
Great stop from Nick Paglia, by the way, who looks like he's on his way to a race win. Second of the season it would be for him, if he can hold on, of course, as we watch Torrigiani and Souza through the Villeneuve chicane. They continue their battle for second place, which was previously for the lead, of course. So Hales gets past De Silva and Dunn, who both come into pit lane. Kevin Hamann is still yet to come in, but that doesn't really matter. Hales is too far behind George Poulos right now, and he needs to get past Ed Trippett. The problem for him is that gap is now 3.5 seconds. The gap 14 between Poulos and Hales. And, well, what a late twist this is. It always comes down, doesn't it, to guys who are not involved in the championship fight making a difference. Now, that's not a criticism of anybody, because they're all here to race, and this individual race has been fought out very hard by those at the front of the field, but it's always with others where the problems come. And meanwhile, Torrigiani and Souza, 2 of those who have not got championships to worry about but have played a big role this afternoon, are battling again, and Souza's off. He tried to get past Torrigiani and he couldn't do it in towards the chicane.
And that is going to be another mistake from Souza. As much as he started up at the front, was the master of the rain conditions in that qualifying session earlier on. It was running smooth, and he had that mistake, and ever since then, things have gone from bad to worse for the driver of the 704 car. We say it as if this has been a terrible race for him. He's still running in the final podium spot, so at the end of the day, for Marcus Souza, this is still going to be a rather good race for him. Now 14 seconds between our front 2 in the championship. But in terms of Souza, we may talk about how this race definitely could have gone a bit better for him if he didn't get struck by those falling anvils, but still entering the final 10.5 minutes in a comfortable P3. As long as he doesn't have many major mistakes, looks like he may end up finishing there, and knowing Malek, I probably just jinxed him, but still a very good drive from Souza minus the mistakes.
There's Keith Markinson goes for a spin. Oh, and Evan Cole all over the last chicane there. He is able to get back going again, though. And good replays continue. Jack Stevenson down towards Ravazza. Too late on the brakes there. Very much too late for him. He's already a lap down, unfortunately. And he is even further a lap down now after that trip through the gravel. Well, there are just 10 minutes left in this season. For one final time, we'll remind you, of course, that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Now then, the final throws of the Challenge Class Championship. And Alan Hales right now is 10 points away from glory. On countback, he would win on top 5s. That's what it would go down to. Not race wins, but top 5s. The second tiebreaker in our rating. Well, right now, he doesn't need to worry about how many top 5s he's had, because he's got much bigger things to worry about. Now he's thrown it off the road through Piratella as well. It's going to be a big save for him as well. But he's not going to catch Ed Trippett doing anything like that.
And thankfully, that car that he's side by side with hang down into Aqua Minerale is a lap down car. But for Alan Hayes, things just go from bad to worse for Hales. Again, when it rains, it pours. And for Hales, it has been a hailstorm ever since the drop of the green flag. That's such a tough moment for him. Another kick in the shins. It's an easy mistake to make. We've seen it happen to many a racer thus far. But for Hales, that is just going to be rubbing salt into the wounds in the final 10 minutes of the season.
One thing he's got to hope for is that Ed Trippett catches and passes George Poulos in 8.5 minutes. Now, with 4 laps to go at 5 at the line here for these guys, it is not impossible The lap before last, he gained 2.2 seconds. Did Ed Trippett? He set his personal best of the race, did Trippett last time round. I think Poulos has just toned this back slightly to back off, but he needs to stop worrying about the gap here. 2.8 seconds gained by Trippett on the last lap as well. Is there another twist in this tail as George Poulos brings on to 6th place? He has to finish there. If he finishes in 7th with Hales in 8th place, he would lose the title on countback. This is huge stuff. It's not Marcus Souza, it's George Poulos in 6th place. But look at who's behind him. Ed Trippett closing. This could be a dramatic finish to this championship season.
And one thing to raise, talking about George Poulos and the lap times that he's been setting as of recent. Looking through his fastest lap of the race was on lap 11, and bearing in mind he's currently on lap 26. That was ever such a long time ago. Looking through some of his times ever since he had that run through the pits, you're looking at 2-minute 2s and 2-minute 3s. That's simply not that quick for George Poulos. Yes, he does have the opportunity to try and take it a little bit easy, but at the same time, if you take it too easy, you're going to find Trippett right on your tail, knocking on that door, and once that happens, you're going to be in for a world of trouble. So for Poulos, may need to turn up the wick a little bit in the 192 car. That may have to be what the doctor orders.
I think he has done a little bit on this lap, but Trippett's very quick. This is Joshua Jepson, meanwhile, still in this situation. He needs to win, and with 4 laps to go, that is not looking likely. Good evening, by the way, to Rick Delmazio, who is asking us whether we're seeing Patrizio only catching Nick Paglia. Well, yes, there's a 10th last time. It's not quite a fight up front yet, but look at the way that George last lap time sticks out there. 2:03.2 from him last time round. That is a bit slower than what he really needs. Taking it easy to the flag, or is he really struggling out there?
That lap time last time by for George Poulos, I can't even say it just sticks out. It sticks out like a sore thumb. That is so much slower than pretty much everybody else up and down this racetrack. I gotta wonder whether or not Poulos is just taking it easy for the sake of taking it easier, or if he is genuinely starting to struggle. These track conditions may be the least hospitable they have ever been. The rain's still coming down, albeit we're in the midst of some rather light rain at the present moment. That's not going to hurt these drivers too badly. iRacing still marking the track as moderately wet, so it's not bone dry out there either. And in terms of the track conditions temperature wise, that's 63 Fahrenheit, so it's been that for I would say probably the past 45 minutes or something like that. It's been around about that same bracket ever since the very early stages of this race. So for George Poulos, I'm not entirely sure what has been causing that loss of pace. I think he's just been taking it easy to try and reel that car home. Catching up is one thing, overtaking is an entirely different dilemma, and for Ed Trippett, I think he knows that it would be a rather difficult task to overtake Poulos. I think Poulos realizes that as well, so he's like, hey, I can afford to take it easy. I'll just let him catch up and then try and struggle to overtake me.
Yeah, it is still he who is the favourite, George Poulos, but he's got to finish 6th. He cannot finish any lower than that with Hales currently in 8th place. What a great championship finale we're having, though, here at Imola as we watch Joshua Jepson, one of those contenders. And it's worth reminding everybody, he was in championship winning position at one stage, but a black flag has undone his season, unfortunately. Here comes Poulos, 3 laps to go. He can afford to lose a second a lap, but not much more than that. Otherwise, Trippett will really be putting the pressure on for the... All 3 of our title contenders have been leaders on the road at some point tonight. What a great finale.
It really speaks volumes about the competitive nature of this series. You know, considering that we have a massive championship battle with drivers covered by nothing points-wise. I mean, look at the amount of points that have been on offer thus far. As it stands currently, George Poulos would end this season with 1,600 points, and the fact that it's going to be coming down to only 10 points separating some of these drivers and only 170 between the top 5 speaks volumes about the competitive competitive drivers and the brilliant drivers that we have in this series as well. They're competitive, they're quick, they're racers at heart, and they're proving that here in this season finale. It has been a barn burner up to this point. Less than 3.5 minutes on the clock, and for Nick Paglia, he finds it with the gap increasing between himself and Torgiani.
3 seconds. Torgiani is bearing down on Paglia here, but is there enough time left in this race? We will see. 2 laps to go. He puts another driver 1 lap down. Nick Paglia has just got to consolidate that margin for another 2 laps to bring this one home. Just over 2 seconds for Poulos. Oh my goodness, this is getting close. And it's side by side for 4th as well. 3rd and 4th in the championship. Not going to change hands with the result of this battle, but it's Vernon Messer versus Joshua Jefferson into Tamburello. Jefferson looking to regain some places after his disappointment earlier on. Big hit on the curb there for Messer, and Jefferson is looking for a consolation prize really here for 4th place.
And the real question that we have to raise with these drivers oh so close in challenging conditions like this, never mind that though, a change at the front. Paglia has spun. He crashed heading off through the section. You can see damage on that race car. He's dropping back down to 3rd. He's going to get involved in that Messer and Jepson battle as it's now a one-horse race at the front. Torgiani holding on to the race lead now with a 2.5 second gap to himself and Marco Souza. That is a heartbreaking mistake for Paglia. He was on track for the race win at the end of it all, but I was going to raise, perfect time for me to mention that, as the at one point race leader went off, the fact that if any of these drivers go off and just drop their way down the running order, that will give some spots to the likes of Paulus and Hales. And if we end up seeing a driver like George Paulus make his way up into the top 5, that may change that points complexion a heck of a lot more.
Oh, he's just got wide through Villeneuve and got into the wetness on the outside line there. Nick Paglia has hit the wall on front end, and as you say, if he drops down, then this could have a real big impact on the championship late on here. He is looking like he's got decent pace though in 3rd place, and he'll try and hang on to that position. Meanwhile, George Poulos is only 1.4 ahead of Trippett. It's going to be really close on the last lap here. It's actually come down to a second as Jefferson gains another 20 points. He's now into 4th place rather. He's looking for 3rd. He is looking for 3rd position. We're not going to know where to look here on this last lap because George Poulos has got to do some defending for a championship here on the very last lap. And don't forget, they're more than half a minute behind these guys. They're a long, long way down. And George Poulos is under big pressure here. It's less than half a second. He can't afford to lose a place. This title could be decided on the very last lap here provisionally. Here comes Ed Trippett in towards Ravazza, piling the pressure on the championship leader. George Poulos in towards Ravazza. He goes a bit wide. He's just pulled it back for the apex in time. Here's the final corner. He pulls it in for the late apex here as well. One more lap, white flag for George Poulos. He has to keep this place.
He needs to be faultless in the final lap of this race. The 194 car going to be under the huge amount of pressure, the 192, my apologies, of Paulus. He needs to put together an absolutely perfect lap, and based off the fact he hasn't broken under a 2-minute 2 in, God, probably about 15 minutes time. Hasn't done that since lap 17, and we're knocking on the door lap 30 right now. Paulus needs to be faultless at the end of this race. This is going to be dicey. He's getting oh so sideways, touching every single curb. I wonder if he's not very confident in that 192 car. He is dancing around this track. We'll note that the triplet has lost out on a little bit of time in this last lap, so I wonder how it's going to change.
And look at Souza there. That was a mistake from Torgiani. We're going to have a battle on the last lap for the race lead and for the championship as well. As Joshua Jefferson's got off the road, he moves down to 5th place. That won't matter too much. It's Torgiani's defense through the Variante Alta, which looks like it's winning this race. What a fantastic defensive drive from him late on as he snatches that position away and looks to take not only his first podium of the season, but also his first victory as well into the final couple of corners. And Patrizio Torgiani is going to win here at Imola in his first race victory of the season. The Porsche Club America Challenge Class victory at Imola is going to go to him. Fantastic drive from Patrizio Torgiani. Now, who's going to win the championship here? It's not going to be Jefferson without a miracle. It could be Poulos if he holds off Ed Tribbett here. He's got one more braking zone, the final braking zone of the season here to decide it. although there are a couple up in front of him. Let's see what happens here. Down into Alvarado for the final time. Poulos under pressure again from Trippett. He's slightly wide of the apex. He's got one more corner to nail, and he'll be the champion. Final corner. George Poulos accelerates towards the line, and by the barest of margins, George Poulos is going to be the champion in the challenge class of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series 13. What a fantastic finale. And by 0.6 of a second, he's taken it. Alan Hales comes over the line in 8th place. He can't gain any more positions from there. He's going to lose this title on the final day by just 10 points.
Take a bow, though. George Paulus and the 192. That was an incredibly well-constructed final lap of that race. He had to withstand worlds of pressure at the end of it all. 0.6 of a second, one missed braking zone, one mistake in that race, and that could have made it all for Paulus. Instead, he crosses that line in 6th to win the championship by the thinnest of margins possible at the end of this season. Brilliant stuff from Paulus to win it all.
Fantastic race to end the season, and it's Patrizio Torziani who gets the big prize at Imola. 1.9 seconds ahead of Souza, who led a lot of laps here today. Nick Paglia led quite a few as well, but a late mistake dropped him to 3rd ahead of Vernon Messer, and a late mistake from Jefferson as well dropped him to 5th. He'll miss out on the championship provisionally by 70 points. Provisionally, our champion is George Poulos in the challenge class. 6th place for him today is enough, even after Ed Tribbett put the pressure on there late on. Alan Hales dropped to 8th. And in the end, just didn't have the speed to stay with Poulos and keep that title. Antonio Da Silva and Kevin Hamann round out the top 10. John Kaplan, Andrew Hillman, Johan Nye, Anthony DiVincenzo and Jeffrey Block were those on the lead lap. Ben Whitehurst was lap fairly late on, along with James Lego, Lisa Eskridge, Robert Gallez and Keith Markison, who we saw go off a couple of times here tonight. 2 laps down was Moody, Stevenson and Cole, with Brad Dunn 3 laps down in a race that everybody got to the finish of, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Let's have a chat to our race winner then, shall we? Patrizio Torziani, who can now join us. Welcome in, Patrizio. Good to have you with us. A dramatic race in so many ways, but I'll start with the end of the race. How were you feeling there, holding off Marcus Souza in the very final lap of that race to take the victory?
You know, I really appreciate it. It's my first PCA win, and I got to tell you, everybody that I was racing with, you know, from Marcos to Jaspin, they raced like true gentlemen, very fast, very hard, you know, nose to tail. But it was a great race. You know, I know that I showed good performance in the past, but I always got myself in trouble. Finally, I was able to take it easy and just wait and be patient, and I was able to finish. Thank God.
How does it feel as well to have your first finish on the podium, a race victory here at Imola as well? You must be very pleased to end the season like this.
You know, it's as far as sim racing is concerned, it's like a dream come true. I love this track. I love Imola, and you know, I know that what they say, the cars are not real, but the racing is real, and I really felt like I was in Italy. You know, so it was great. It feels great. I think the key is I gotta be patient, you know, and not overdo it. And eventually, like my wife always says, you know, to finish first you guys finish.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on finishing first here tonight, Patrizio, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us as well.
You know, I just wanted to say one last thing. I just want to thank everybody. And if anybody needs a Porsche, I work at Porsche Greenwich. If you're looking for a specific model, just give me a shout. Thanks again, everybody. Look forward to it.
Thanks very much. Patrizio Torziani, the race winner here tonight at Imola in the challenge class. Just 1.9 seconds ahead of Marcus Souza at the finish. Congratulations, Marcus, on a 2nd place finish. But how are you feeling after that one? You led so many laps tonight, but ending up 2nd place. How are you feeling?
Exhausted. Patrizio did put me to work a lot. He was, you know, very, very close for more than half of the race when I was leading, and it was a very tough race. Fantastic race by him, fantastic race by Nick and by everybody else.
How are you feeling in the early part of the race? Because, as I say, you were leading. Was it a case of just staying on the road and that was helping you keep in the lead? Or were you really pushing hard at the beginning of that race?
No, so the strategy was to try to do not make mistakes. I have a pace. I knew Nick and Patricio were faster than me because I saw their laps before. But it's racing. Racing is when it's raining. When it's raining, it's difficult for people to pass. So just trying to be focused on do not make mistakes. I have a pace, and my pace will keep me in front. And that's exactly what happened for more than half of the race. And I made a mistake. That's when they were able to pass.
All right, well, congratulations on the second place, nevertheless, Marcus, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us as well.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the instructors of the PCA Sim Racing. They are doing a phenomenal job. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much. Marcus serves a second place here tonight at Imola in the challenge class, just ahead of Nick Paglia, who was leading late on but finishes third in the end. Congratulations, Nick, on a podium tonight, but how are you feeling after leading so late on and having that snatched away from you at the end?
Yeah, it was a tough race. Those guys were really fast, and I just, I ended up there after a comedy of kind of errors that happened in front of me, and sometimes that little lapse of judgment for a few seconds gets the best of you, and it got the best of me tonight.
How did it feel to be out in the lead, though, just after the pit stop phase there? Because I've got to say, I didn't see that coming, especially not by the gap that you had as well. Just what went on through the pit stop phase do you feel that gave you such a big lead?
So I tried to, I saw somebody was pitting for a black flag in front of me, and I tried to run a hot lap with a clear track as fast as I could, and I minimized my pit stop as best as possible. I only took gas, I didn't take any tires, and I think I did like a 10-1 or a 10-2, and I wasn't sure if that was going to work. I had clear track on the out lap and 2 or 3 laps, and I was able to come out ahead. I don't know what happened during their pit stops, but maybe it was a combination of all that. Felt good to be out there. I actually shut my relative off because I saw that Patricio was actually closing on me every lap, and I just couldn't look at that and pay attention to driving at the same time.
Well, it's absolutely fair enough. Congratulations on a podium here tonight, Nick, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us as well.
Appreciate you guys, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks very much. Nick Paglia there in third place here tonight at Imola. Sixth place tonight was George Poulos, and he is provisionally our champion in the challenge class this season. Congratulations to George on a great race and a great season as well. Talk us through those final few laps, though. How aware were you of the championship situation at the time, and how do you feel now that you've crossed the line and finished the season?
I do feel relieved. I was aware that I needed to be at least ahead of Alan by 1 position to tie him, and then when I saw Ed between us, I was very happy. And then he was gaining on me at the end, and I was being extra cautious not to spin. A little nerve-wracking at the very end there.
Absolutely. In the end, it was just 10 points separating the two of you. Just how do you assess this season overall, with a bit of a shaky start, I think it's fair to say, at Daytona and Portimao, but a great finish to your season as well, with up before tonight, 4 podiums in a row?
Just progressive improvement, and that's what I like to see, and it worked out.
Well, congratulations on the title. Unofficially, obviously, we've got to classify the results and everything, but unofficially our champion in the challenge class this season. Congratulations on that, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us at the end as well.
Thank you guys for hosting.
Thanks very much. That's George Poulos in the victory lane, if you like, for the champions here tonight in the challenge class. What a fantastic drive it's been from him all season long. Wasn't quite the form that he's shown in the last few weeks, but it was good enough to beat Alan Hales by just 10 points at the end of the season, because we'll classify all the results at the end and have our champions properly at the end. But there it is, Ron, on the right-hand side. Poulos 10 points in front of Hales. Jefferson only 70 points behind, which is 20 closer than he was at the start of the day as well. What a great finale that was.
What a barn burner here at Imola. After that club season finale 1 week ago here on RaceSpotTV for the Porsche Club of America, I had pretty high hopes heading into this race, but that completely blew them out of the water, no pun intended. That was just an absolutely fantastic race. That championship discussion at the end of it, we felt like we were on the hot seat just looking at those drivers being under these pressure cooker situations. What a brilliant way to bring this absolutely fantastic season for the Porsche Club of America to a conclusion.
And of course, we should, with this race coming to a conclusion, thank you for watching the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series 13. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you here on RaceSpotTV over the course of the season. Don't forget that the next season of the Porsche Club America Sim Racing Series, season 14, is coming up shortly. That will start in September of this year. I very much hope that you will be able to join us for that. September 3rd, sponsored by Princess Cruises, is the start date for Series 14, which the works are already going into, of course. Takes a lot of preparation and a great lot of work behind the scenes. Big thanks to everyone behind the scenes, by the way, for all the work they do throughout the season. From January to April, here where we are now, we've had 4 fantastic classes and great nights of racing over the course of 7 great circuits as well. Between now and then, plenty of Porsche Club America racing to come as well. The Team Racing Series returns for another round this Sunday. Make sure you join us for that on Sunday afternoon, as well as the 6 Hours of Spa on May the 4th. The Operation Motorsport benefit event. You can sign up for that, of course, using the links in the description as we spoke about before. This has been the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series 13 Challenge Class from Imola. I've been Jon O'Leary alongside Ron Miles and Romero Augustin Cisneros has been behind the cameras. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in tonight to a fantastic season finale. Make sure you join us again in Series 14 starting in September. From all of us here from Imola, it's goodbye for now.